Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Jaya Kapitara Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prachujanarandana Yashodanandana Prachujanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Iskon Guruvani ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shikodanataya Maipushashi ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. No, okay. Reading from Shri Prabhupada Lila Amrita, Preaching to America Part 2. The next morning before going to the airport, Shri Prabhupada took a walk in Balboa Park. Hearing the sweet singing of birds, he said they were happy. They just take the fruits and they're singing in the morning, he said. Rameshwar. But when we tell people that they may take their next birth as an animal or bird, they say that's all right, because these creatures are happier than the humans. Shri Prabhupada. But because you're a rascal, you do not know that you can become more happy, come back to Godhead. That you do not know. Devotees like to bring before Shri Prabhupada all kinds of topics for his comment. Conversations would jump from one thing to another, as devotees sometimes brought up horrendous examples of contemporary degradation, or sometimes tested their own doubts by posing as agnostics. Or sometimes they would simply bring to Prabhupada's attention ordinary sights and sounds. Whatever the topic, Prabhupada showed the devotees how to see things from the transcendental perspective, and thus he also showed to them his own purity and humanness. When a devotee told Prabhupada that Balboa was the first man to see the Pacific, Prabhupada at first seemed impressed, but a moment later he scoffed. Everyone was already there, they do not know. The Pacific and Atlantic Oceans are mentioned in the Kalidas Kavi's book Kumara Sambhava. They are all mentioned, the Pacific, Atlantic Oceans. These fools do not know anything. They say, I am the first man to come, as if before him there was no man, just see. Prabhupada complimented the devotees on the previous day's festival in the park and advised them to hold such festivals every day. Actually, I'll just leave it there. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 7, Text 7. I'll just say the verse myself and you can go through the word for word. Evam karma vishuddhya vishuddha sattva santar vridayaksha sharire brahmani bhagavati vasudevi mahapurusha rupapalakshane shivatsa Kastupa vana malari dhara gadadibir upalakshate nicha purusharil likitetnatmani purusha rupena viruchamana uchashistaram bhaktir anudinam edamana rajya jayata. Evam
well.
Thus,
Thus,
karma vishuddhya,
karma vishuddhya,
by offering everything for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not desiring any results of his pious activities.
by offering everything for the service of the Supreme Personality of God and not desiring any results of his past activities.
Vishuddha Sattvasya
Vishuddha Sattvasya,
of Bharat Maharaj,
or Bhagavad,
whose existence was completely purified.
whose existence was completely purified.
Antaritaya Akasha Sharire, the supersoul within the heart as meditated on by yogis.
Supersoul within the heart is meditated on by yogi.
Brahmani,
Brahmani,
into impersonal Brahman, which is worshipped by impersonalist jnanis.
into impersonal Brahman, which is worshipped by impersonal jnanis.
Bhagavati,
Bhagavati,
unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
unto the Supreme Personality of God.
Vasudevi,
Vasudeva,
the son of Vasudeva, Lord Krishna.
son of Vasudeva, Lord Krishna.
Mahapurusha,
Mahapurusha,
of the Supreme Person.
of the Supreme Person.
Rupa,
Rupa,
of the form.
of the form.
Upalakshani,
Upalakshani,
having the symptoms. Srivatsa,
Srivastava,
the mark on the chest of the Lord. Kaustuba,
Kaustuba,
the Kaustuba gem used by the Lord.
Kaustuba gem used by the Lord.
Vanamala,
Vanamala,
flower garland. Aridhara,
Aridhara,
by the disc and conch shell.
by the disc and conch.
Gada Adibi,
Gada Adipi,
by the club and other symbols.
by the club and other symbols.
Upalakshite,
Upalakshite,
being recognized. Nija Purusha Ritliketena,
Nature Purusha Nikitena,
which is situated in the heart of his own devotee like an engraved picture.
which is situated in the heart of his own devotee like an engraved picture.
Atmani,
Atmani,
in his own mind.
his own mind.
Purusha Rupena,
Purusha Rupena,
by his personal form.
by his personal form.
Virochamani,
Virochamani,
shining.
shining.
Uchatishtaram,
Uchashishtaram,
on a very high level.
on a very high level.
Bhakti,
Bhakti,
devotional service.
devotional service.
Anudinam,
Anudinam,
day after day. Edamana,
Edamana,
increasing. Raya,
Raya,
possessing force.
possessing force.
Ajayata,
Ajayata,
appeared. Translation. In this way, being purified by ritualistic sacrifices, the heart of Maharaj Bharat was completely uncontaminated. His devotional service unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, increased day after day. Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the original personality of Godhead, manifest as the Suprasoul, Paramatma, as well as the impersonal Brahman. Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma situated in the heart. Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahman as the supreme absolute truth, and devotees worship Vasudeva, the supreme personality of Godhead, whose transcendental body is described in the Shastras. His body is decorated with a Srivatsa, the Kaustuba jewel, and a flower garland, and his hands hold a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower. Devotees like Narada always think of him within their hearts. Please repeat. In this way, being purified by ritualistic sacrifices,
being purified by ritualistic sacrifices.
the heart of Maharaj Bharat was completely uncontaminated. His devotional service unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna,
His devotional service unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna,
increased day after day.
increased day after day.
Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva,
Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva,
is the original personality of Godhead,
is the original personality of God.
manifest as the Supersoul Paramatma,
Manifest as the Supersoul Paramatma,
as well as the impersonal Brahman.
as well as the impersonal Brahman.
Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma,
Yogis meditate on the localized Paramatma,
situated in the heart.
situated in the heart.
Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahman
Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahman
as the supreme absolute truth,
as the supreme absolute truth.
and devotees worship Vasudeva,
And devotees worship Vasudeva,
the supreme personality of Godhead,
the supreme personality of God.
whose transcendental body is described in the Shastras.
His transcendental body is described in the Shastras.
His body is decorated with the Srivatsa,
His body is decorated with the Srivatsa,
the Kaustubha jewel and a flower garland. And his hands hold a conch shell, disc club, and lotus flower. Devotees like Narada always think of him within their hearts. Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Vasudeva, or Shri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is manifest within the hearts of yogis in his Paramatma feature, and he is worshipped as impersonal Brahman by Jnanis. The Paramatma feature is described in the Shastras as having 4 hands holding disc, conch shell, lotus flower, and club. As confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2-8, Kechit Swadihantara Hridaya Vakshase Pradesha Matram Purusham Vasantam Chatur Bhujam Ganja Rathanga Shankha Gadadharam Dharyanaya Smaranti. Paramatma is situated in the hearts of all living beings. He has 4 hands which hold 4 symbolic symbols. All devotees who think of the Paramatma within the heart worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple deity. They also understand the impersonal features of the Lord and his bodily rays, the Brahman effulgence. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitanjana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this way, being purified by ritualistic sacrifices, the heart of Maharaj Bharat was completely uncontaminated. His devotional service unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, increased day after day. Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the original personality of Godhead, manifest as a supersoul Paramatma as well as the impersonal Brahman. Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma situated in the heart. Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahman as the supreme absolute truth. And devotees worship Vasudeva, the supreme personality of Godhead, whose transcendental body is described in the Shastras. His body is decorated with the Srivatsa, the Kaustubha jewel, and a flower garland, and his hands hold a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower. Devotees like Narada always think of him within their hearts. So, Maharaj Bharat is shown to be becoming very purified by this meditation, and this verse is very similar to a verse in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, which describes the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan features of the Lord. And it says, Vedanti tat tatva vidas tattvam jan yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmiti bhagavaniti shabdrite. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So it's interesting because the Jnanis, they meditate on the Brahman effulgence, and the yogis, they meditate on the Paramatma in the heart. And these are all partial realizations of the absolute truth, because just like the sunshine, when we see the sunshine, we automatically know that there's a sun that's in the sky. Otherwise, if there was no sun, then there would not be any sunshine. So this is quite a logical understanding. So in the same way, the Brahman effulgence is just the effulgence of Krishna's body, his bodily rays. So if there is a Brahman effulgence, then automatically we understand that there must be a personality of Godhead behind it. This is actually natural, just like with the sunshine, there has to be a sun god who emanates that sunshine. So in this way, we can understand that the Brahman effulgence is dependent on Krishna, his form. So this is a very natural understanding, but the Jnanis, they're not able to understand this completely. They only see the Brahman effulgence and they become attracted to that. At least it's the first step towards understanding the absolute truth, but it's only partial realization. And then the yogis, they accept the Paramatma in everyone's heart, so they understand that the Lord in this form of Vasudeva is present in the heart. So just like if we put 1,000 water pots in a field, then and in a sunny day, then in each and every water pot we'll see the sun automatically reflected in each pot. So the Paramatma feature is that it's present in everyone's heart. It's like Krishna is reflected in everyone's heart. But again, this Paramatma feature is a partial understanding, a partial realization of the absolute supreme Bhagavan feature of the Lord. So although he's present everywhere, he's still situated as a supreme personality of Godhead. He doesn't become divided. So all these Paramatma features that is present in everyone's heart is a partial expansion of Krishna. So Krishna, his bodily effulgence is the Brahman, and he's reflected in everyone's heart simultaneously as a Paramatma. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes that I'm the basis of the impersonal Brahman, and I'm the supersoul in all living entities. So Krishna himself is saying this to show that he's the source of the Brahman and the Paramatma. And so the ultimate realization is Bhagavan realization, and Krishna is known as Bhagavan because he possesses all 6 opulences in full, unlimitedly. Can anybody give me the 6 opulences that Krishna has? John, would you like to describe the 6 opulences?
Praying one of them?
No, the 6 opulences of Krishna.
Oh, sorry. Wealth, strength, beauty, fame, motivation, knowledge.
And wealth. Okay, so that's good. So these are the 6 opulences. Krishna possesses all beauty, all strength, all fame, all knowledge, all wealth, and all renunciation. So, and he has all these simultaneously and to an unlimited degree. And although we may find someone in the material world who may possess one of the opulences, but still he wouldn't be able to be unlimitedly complete in these opulences, in any of them. And even if they may possess more than one of these or all of them, they're still not unlimited in these opulences. And also, after this lifetime, they will lose all these opulences when they go into a next body. So it's not eternal, it's temporary. So in Krishna consciousnness, we've been given so many gifts by Srila Prabhupada, and we can't even comprehend what Srila Prabhupada has given us. So we have to be appreciative and understand that everything we know is coming from Srila Prabhupada. All the knowledge that we understand of Krishna, of the spiritual world, and the soul is all coming from Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's books. And Srila Prabhupada describes that there's 2 types of consciousness. There's the bodily consciousness and there's Krishna consciousness. So bodily consciousness means that everything is from me, I, me, and mine. And there's no satisfaction, although we try to satisfy the bodily demands, but they're never satisfied. There's always desire for more and more. So this is the materialistic way of life. It's like building sandcastles. Srila Prabhupada gives this analogy many times that materialistic plans is like building sandcastles, and then at the end they get destroyed when the sea comes in. So it's all temporary, and at any time they can be destroyed. And so this is the material world. In the material world, happiness is limited and temporary. There's no eternal, no permanent happiness. There's sukha dukkha all the time, and happiness and distress. But we're actually looking for eternal happiness. We're actually looking for that nectar, which we're always anxious. Lord Chaitanya says in the Shikshastakam first verse that we're always anxious for the nectar, and that nectar is the only thing that's going to satisfy us, and that's the Hare Krishna mantra. That's actually the nectar that we're always anxious for, and we can access it at any time, any place, anywhere, in any condition. We can chant the Hare Krishna mantra and derive this nectar. It's like the nectar button. We can just press it at anywhere, anytime, and we're in touch with Krishna, the source of all pleasure, the source of all happiness, the source of all nectar. But Lord Chaitanya says in the second verse that we have no attraction for the holy names. So this is our condition. So we need the association of devotees to help us get a taste for the holy name of the Lord. If we associate with the pure devotees who have a strong taste for the holy name, then we also develop that strong taste for chanting. So to understand Krishna, to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead in full, we need the association of devotees who are very much absorbed in Krishna's service. And so Srila Prabhupada explains throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam in different ways what this Brahman, what this Paramatma is, and who Bhagavan is. And Srila Prabhupada in the first canto, he says that Brahman, or in the purport, he says, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the Absolute Truth is but a partial realization, thus imperfect realization. So the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is the path of Jnana and Yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing the Absolute Truth. So if we take the process of Jnana and Yoga, we'll only come to the point of Brahman and Paramatma realization. But devotional service is actually the only means by which we can understand the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. And Krishna himself says that in the Bhagavad Gita, that only by devotional service can I be understood as I am. So this is actually the way we can actually understand the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. And by understanding the Bhagavan feature of the Lord, we automatically will understand the Paramatma and Brahman features as well. And Srila Prabhupada gives this analogy that if we have $1 million, then within it is also $10 and $100 and $1,000. So all these other lower numbers are within that $1 million. So similarly, when we understand the Bhagavan feature of the Lord, then automatically we'll understand the Brahman and Paramatma. We'll accept that feature of the Lord too. So by performing devotional service, we realize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so in the same way, we'll understand Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. So there's some beautiful descriptions in the Bhagavatam of Krishna's name, Krishna's form, his pastimes, his qualities. So there's some descriptions in the Bhagavatam, which I'd like to kind of read out from the third canto. And it's just a description. So this is the form that the yogis are meditating on as Paramatma. So in the third canto, it's described that the Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure. His auspicious presence is meant for everyone's benediction. And his affectionate smiling and glancing touch the core of the heart. The Lord's beautiful bodily colour is blackish, and his broad chest is the resting place of the goddess of fortune, who glorifies the entire spiritual world, the summit of all heavenly planets. Thus it appeared that the Lord was personally spreading the beauty and good fortune of the spiritual world. He was adorned with a girdle that shone brightly on the yellow cloth covering his large hips, and he wore a garland of fresh flowers, which was distinguished by hummingbees. His lovely wrists were graced with bracelets, and he rested one of his hands on the shoulder of Garuda. his carrier, and twirled a lotus with another hand. So this is the description of the Lord that the yogis are meditating on. That he's he's blackish in colour. He wears a yellow cloth with a shining girdle. He has fresh garlands surrounded by a necklace of kaustubha, and he's enhanced by the beauty of makara earrings, which outshine lightning, and he's got a gem-studded crown on his head. So these are some of the descriptions described in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the Lord that's the yogis are meditating on. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he says that the Lord's personal body was covered with yellow robes and his waist was thin. And Vaikuntha, whenever there is a flower ground on the chest of the personality of Godhead or any one of his associates, it is described that hummingbees are there. All these features were very beautiful and attractive for the devotees. One of the Lord's hands rests on his Karya Garuda, and in another hand he twirled a lotus flower. These are personal characteristics of the personality of Godhead Narayan. So these are the beautiful descriptions of the Lord's form as Vishnu, Lord Narayan in the Vaikuntha planets. So the yogis, they're meditating on this form of the Lord within the heart. And but the devotees, they're not so much interested in this beautiful form of the Lord, because Krishna's form of Shyamasundara is more beautiful than Vaikuntha, Lord Narayan and Vaikuntha. So the devotees of the Lord, they generally are attracted to the Shyamasundara form of the Lord with all its sweetness. And it's described in the Nectar of Devotion that Krishna has 4 extra and one of them is his unique personal beauty. Another one is that he plays his flute. Another one is he's surrounded by loving devotees, and there's one more. Can anyone remember?
Oh, we just went through this the other day. Unparalleled beauty, flute playing.
I've said that one.
Flute playing, surrounded by devotees, and also engages in loving exchange.
Okay, so engaging in loving pastimes with his devotees. So these are the 4 qualities that Krishna has that even Lord Narayan doesn't possess. So this makes Krishna more attractive, more beautiful. And this form of Krishna is described by by Lord Brahma in the Brahma Samhita. And it's a beautiful description that he says that Krishna, he's bedecked with a peacock feather, he's got lotus petal eyes, he's adorned with his transcendental form is so beautiful that it's attracting millions of cupids. His body is the colour of a blue cloud, that's right. And he's more attractive than millions of cupids. So this form of Krishna is the most complete form, is unlimitedly beautiful, and it has is full of sweetness. So Lord Narayan is full of Aishvarya, which is opulence, and but Krishna's form is his sweetness actually is more attractive than his opulence. So the opulence is not even noticed because the sweetness overpowers his opulence. And to actually understand this form of Shyamasundara Krishna, then we need to chant the holy names, because there's no other way of understanding this form of Krishna. Krishna reveals through the chanting that his name, form, qualities and pastimes. So this is the way we can actually enter into Krishna's understand and see Krishna's form, his qualities, his pastimes through this method of chanting the Hare Krishna. We have to come to the point of Shuddhanam to be able to see this beautiful form of Krishna as Shyamasundar. So this is actually, we've been given the direct path to reaching this feature of Krishna. And all the books, all Srila Prabhupada's books are explaining how we can chant without offense, how we can chant purely. So this is the key to success. If we want to see Krishna's form, if we want to know his qualities and pastimes, and then we need to chant the holy name in a very, very good quality, with great quality and attention and love and affection. So this should be our aim in devotional service, to be able to chant the holy name with pure love for Krishna. Then all these features of Krishna will be revealed when Krishna is pleased with us, with our endeavors. Shishikotandai my Prashishiki. So the process of Bhakti Yoga is hearing and chanting. The first two steps is hearing and chanting. And this is, even as we progress, these two, hearing and chanting, should never be given up, because they are the most important aspects of Bhakti, the process of Bhakti. And it's described that this Bhakti Lata Bij in the heart is watered by the Shravanam Kirtanam. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, that the seed of devotional service in the heart begins to grow, begins to sprout with this hearing and chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, and it grows bigger and bigger, and until it reaches the spiritual world. It goes through the Brahman effulgence, it goes through the Viraja river, which is dividing the material and spiritual worlds, and then through the Brahman, and right through the Vaikuntha Lokas, right to the Goloka Vrindavan, the highest planet in the spiritual world. So this is how, and then it continues to, the watching process doesn't stop, it continues to water, the hearing and chanting doesn't stop, and then it bears beautiful fruits and flowers of love of God. So this is the process of how our Bhakti Lata Bij can be watered by the Shravanam Kirtanam's hearing and chanting process. And also we have to guard against offences against the holy name, because if we start watering the weeds as well in the heart, then they will flourish and they will choke the Bhakti Lata Bij, the Bhakti Lata Creeper. So we really need to be careful we don't commit offences, and we guard this Bhakti Lata Bij from being destroyed in any way. And if we continue to hear and chant nicely, then it will grow nicely. Just like if we pay a lot of attention to our plants and water them regularly and give them enough sunshine, then they will grow nicely. So in the same way, if we water this Bhakti Lata Bij nicely, then it will grow nicely. So whatever attention we give to chanting the holy names, then that's how Bhakti Lata Bij will grow. So the more we hear and chant and guard against offences, then the more easily and more nicely this creeper will grow and bear fruit. And we will experience that pleasure, we will experience this wonderful, ecstatic love for Krishna. All this is described in the Shikshastakam, all the different stages of this growth of the Bhakti Lata Bij. So the beginning is, in the beginning we don't have a taste. It's like Nama Parad, we're committing offences, so there's no taste. It's up and down, there's no steadiness. But eventually we come to the point of Nishta, which is steady devotional service. And this is described in the third verse of the Shikshastakam. When we're chanting in the humble state of mind, thinking yourself low and straw in the street, we offer all respects unto us without desiring any respect in return. And we're very tolerant as a tree. And without any false prestige, without desire for recognition, false prestige. So this is the beginning stage of pure chanting, because this is, now we've reached the stage where we're actually chanting in a humble state of mind, and we can chant constantly. And then the next stage is ruchi, when we've no desire for accumulating wealth, no desire enjoyment with the opposite sex. We don't have any desire for these things. And then ashakti is the next stage, where we see how fallen we are, and Krishna is our only shelter. That Ainan Tanuja Kinkaram, where somehow Krishna, we have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. But please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. So this is the stage of the Shakti. And Bhava is when we're saying that Ainananda Tanuja Kinkaram. What's the when all my eyes be decorated with tears of love, as if when I I've said that one. I've said that one. That's a Shakti. So Bhava is Nainam Galadashri Darya Badanam Gudgudu Dagida Pulakindi Chitam Vapakadab Tabnam Vahini Bhavishiti. So when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly as I chant your holy names, when will my voice choke up, and when will hairs my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? So this is the stage of ecstatic chanting. So this is what we want to achieve, this stage of ecstatic chanting, and then we will be able to see Krishna's form of Shyamasundar in the heart. And so this is what we should be endeavouring for in our chanting, in our hearing. Somehow we can connect with this form of Shyamasundar and understand Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes. And also, also we can't force Krishna to appear before us, but by serving him, by pleasing him, then he will be, whenever he feels that to reveal himself to us, he will, whenever he's pleased with our service attitude. So we're depending, we can do all the effort, but ultimately it's Krishna's mercy that will reveal to us that this beautiful form of Shyamasundar. Is there any questions or comments?
As you start practicing Krishna consciousness longer, then there's more of a pressure on you to come up with the books type thing, because it's expected that because you've been doing it for so long now, there should be certain qualities that should be there, and certain states of consciousness that should be there, you know. So the longer you go on, the more you better, seems to me, the more you better really look into yourself. Stop worrying about everybody else, and start worrying about where you are. It enables you to spend more time. He worships the deity and sees the deity as Krishna. I was just listening this morning, Prabhupada was saying that the second devotee, the Majjhima, he doesn't just see Krishna, he sees the devotee also. He wants to serve the devotee when he's looking out for the devotee to serve.
Yeah, so the deity worship is very important, because by that we come to the understanding that God is a person, and then we start realizing that he's also present in everyone's heart. So then we start showing respect to everyone. So that's how our consciousness becomes more purified. Then we understand that Krishna is not just in the deity, but he's also present in everyone's heart. So then we start having compassion for others, and we start having loving relationships with devotees. So this is actually part of the purifying process. Because some people think we can just chant like how does Thakur, and we don't have to do any deity worship. Prabhupada didn't agree with that. Prabhupada particularly said, and especially in one purport I just read recently, that deity worship is important for the neophyte devotee so that he can elevate his consciousness to the point of understanding that Krishna is present in everyone's heart, and also to know that, have a loving relationship with devotees. But we can't artificially come to that point, like Haridas Thakur, just chanting. We can't, it's not possible for us in our state, in our conditioned state, to come to that point so quickly. So that's why deity worship is so important. And so there needs to be a balance. There needs to be hearing and chanting, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, deity worship, serving the devotees. All these are all facets of bhakti, the process of bhakti, and they're all very potent features. And some may be more attracted to other different features of bhakti. Some may be more interested in singing kirtan, some more in deity worship, some in other features of preaching. But we still have to practice all of them so that we get a balance, so that there's especially in the conditioned state, we need a general, like an overall all of them. Is that okay?
Yeah, I was just wondering, if somebody took first initiation and somebody else took first and then later on he took second and the other person didn't take second initiation, he said he would just stick with the first initiation and that'd be enough for him. What would be the difference in the devotee's progress, the one who's taking second and the one who's just stayed on the first?
Well, depending on if they're ready for second initiation, there's a bigger responsibility. You receive the Gayatri mantra, you can worship the deity, you can approach the deity. So it means there has to be an increase in consciousness. So we can't come to that level unless we go through the process, hearing and chanting. So first initiation is the beginning of initiating the hearing and chanting process, and from that we become more advanced in our spiritual life, and then we can take second initiation and do deity worship, and also become more advanced in other ways,
And I suppose it will help them to become more into the mode of goodness, because if you're more clean and more punctual, all these qualities will naturally be cultivated.
Yeah, because deity worship forces us to become clean, punctual, in the mode of goodness in so many features. So it elevates the consciousness. So we need to come to a certain point before we can get second initiation, and then that helps us to keep in the mode of goodness. Deity worship helps us to stay in the mode of goodness.
I was saying one way to understand it is if you look at two circles, and the inner circle is the Gayatri mantra, and the outer circle is the Hare Krishna mantra. So the outer circle goes lower, and it takes you higher. And the Gayatri mantra, you have to be quite elevated to begin with, and it doesn't take you as high.
Well, the Gayatri mantra assists us in chanting Hare Krishna. It's not independent. It's not like once we chant the Gayatri mantra, we don't have to chant Hare Krishna. No, it's supposed to assist and help us chant better. So that's the point, and deeper in our chanting and meditation. So, so the goal of all this is to actually be able to chant purely to please Krishna, and to understand the form of Shyamasundar, to actually serve that form of Shyamasundar. So we have to keep the goal in mind, otherwise we'll lose sight. If we lose sight of the goal, then everything we're doing will lose meaning. If we don't have a goal, if we're not going anywhere, and we're just, like, even if we travel in a car, if we don't have a destination, we're just going to wander around in the car from one place to the next. We don't really have any feel urgency to get there. But generally, if you're going somewhere, if you know that there's a destination that you're going to, then there's usually an urgency to get there. And we usually try to take the shortest route there, and get there as quickly as possible. But if we don't even have a goal in mind, if we don't have a goal in mind where we're going, then we won't actually act urgently, and we'll just wander, willy-nilly here and there with no fixed intention of going anywhere. So we're not going to get very far that way. So at least if we have a goal in mind, then there'll be urgency, there'll be a determination, there'll be, more endeavour, and so that's why we really need to read Srila Prabhupada's books to understand what is the goal, what all our endeavours are for. Otherwise, it'll just become a mechanical service. It's not going to be very devotional service. It'll become mechanical. Yes, Felix.
In towards the end of the third part, it says, Srila Prabhupada says, all devotees who think of Paramatma within the heart worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple deity. I was wondering what that means.
Yeah, because like the yogis, they meditate on the Paramatma feature of the Lord, whereas devotees worship the deity. Mm-hmm. So that's like this is their form of worship, worshipping the Paramatma. Like the yogis, they meditate on the Paramatma in the heart, but we worship the deity because that Paramatma is on the altar. Mm-hmm. So we worship him personally.
Yeah.
And from that, we understand that the Lord that we're worshipping is also present in everyone's heart as a Paramatma. So this is the understanding that we come to.
Are you saying that for a neophyte it's easier to perceive Krishna in the deity form than the Paramatma in the heart? Is that the case?
Yes, because he's not understanding that the Paramatma is in everyone's heart, so he doesn't know how to relate to everybody.
Yeah.
You see, so he doesn't see that everyone's a devotee of Krishna and the Lord's in everyone's heart, so I should offer respects to everybody. And a neophyte doesn't know how to offer respects to others. He only sees the deity as a Lord. He doesn't see that the Lord's in everyone's heart as well, and he should offer respects to everyone, every living being. So, so that's why by doing the deity worship, it purifies him. So at some point he will come to the realization that the Lord I'm worshipping, he's also in everyone's heart. And I should offer respects to everyone and having loving relationships with all the devotees. So this is actually the elevation of his consciousness. Yeah. So it's a very important service. Of course, it doesn't replace hearing and chanting. That has to go on. Otherwise, the deity worship will not bear fruit. You'll not come to that point of realization. So that's why we need to read Srila Prabhupada's books and hear and chant. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
We often heard the description of the neophyte is the one who he's only able to worship the deity and he has faith in the deity. But what type of devotee is it if he can't even worship the deity? Doesn't even have faith in the deity? Does he not even? You just need to go to the level of any connection?
Well, deity worship doesn't just mean on the altar. We can do kirtan for the deities. We can do so many things. That's also part of deity worship. We can honour the deities' garlands. We offer respects to all the paraphernalia of the deity. We can make garlands for the deities. So the deity is still in the centre. It may not be that we're worshipping the deity on the altar, but we can still see the deity. When we come into the temple, we bow down to the deity, so we accept the deity as the Lord. So that's still part of deity worship, bowing down before the deity, So even if we're not second initiated or even initiated, we can still offer respects to the deity as the Supreme Lord. So it's still considered part of deity worship.
So what whereas if a person believes in God, but he doesn't even have any faith in the deity, and he's not even on the level of being a Christian.
Yeah, because Sri Prabhupada explains that if one considers that the deity is just made of stone, then he's not very advanced at all. He's not on that level of Kanishta. So at least first we have to accept this much, you know. One who doesn't accept that the spiritual master is a representative of the Lord, is a spiritual form, and that the deity has is non-different from the Lord, then that's a not very good condition to be in. So by the hearing and chanting, we'll come to the point of understanding that the deity is non-different from the Lord, and the spiritual master is the representative of the Paramatma in the heart. So this is another form of the Paramatma. The Paramatma is in the heart, but the external feature of the Paramatma is the spiritual master. So this is the understanding that the spiritual master is the external manifestation of the Supersoul, the Paramatma in the heart. So this also comes from gradual development, deity worship. We can understand that the Lord I'm worshipping on the altar, he's the external manifestation of the Supersoul, is also manifest as the spiritual master. And the Lord is acting through the spiritual master to give us knowledge, to give us understanding, how to reach him. So these are all gradual realizations. Is that okay? Should I stop there? Okay. Thank you for nice questions. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, ISKCON Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.